What is going on, everyone, and welcome to r/IDOWorkHereLady, one of my favourite subreddits. I just haven't had the chance to look at it recently, but we're back today to get some more crazy stories. Here we go. I work here. Yeah, on breaking and entering. This happened to me a few years back. I worked as a junior facility manager at one of the office and conference buildings of our church. I often ran late shifts, preparing for the next day. Moving a couple hundred chairs is best done after regular office hours, closing down, lights, windows, etc., and then securing the building for the night. Since I was just in facility management and at late shifts, nobody was there anyway. I usually just wore some black army clothes to work since they are comfortable and robust, as well as army boots. Again, comfy and robust, and an old field cap. You won't believe the kind of dirt you'll find atop some office cabinets and ceiling lamps. There were multiple entries I had to close down at night and take care nobody was left in the building. Finally, I'd make my last round around the building, testing if every door was really locked, since sometimes the locking mechanism wouldn't snap properly. Unfortunately, the building was at the city centre between the town hall and the police station, so it was just a matter of time before I got to know some of my city's finest. So, two officers are leaving their car when they see some guy in old army clothes pulling vigorously at the doors of the office across the street and feel like investigating. The first officer said, "Good evening. Might I ask what we are doing here?" I say, a bit annoyed, "My job, and I'd like to be gone in about 5 minutes. So..." Yeah, after an exhausting day, I just wanted to get home and didn't feel like being delayed by anyone. Also, this was in Europe, so I had no worry about the cops using excessive force or being a bit brash. Of course, in hindsight, this was not the best possible answer. The second officer said, "Well, we would appreciate it if you'd refrain from doing your work in front of our police station." Me, very much missing the point at what the police officer is getting at, thinking this to be some kind of harassment, whilst pulling again at the door, which indeed opens, I say, "Well, I am sorry to hear that. I'll be away as soon as I have taken care of this." At that moment, I reach for my pocket to get my keys and find myself harshly interrupted. "Hands where we can see them. Step away from the door." I freeze in mid-air, finally realizing the situation. Now I get it. Sorry, I do work here. It seems though like my looks weren't too convincing. "I don't think so. Are you daft? We are literally standing right beside you. The sheer audacity. At least we just have to cross the street," he says while grabbing my arm and shaking his head. "No, sir, I can't. I do indeed work here and I've got to..." "Yeah, your work looks quite like breaking and entering, so if you just come with us." By now, I was annoyed, fuming, and rather desperate. It was past my shift, and I couldn't leave with two open doors. The last one I would lock on my way out, and this late they might just keep me overnight at the station and check out my testimonial the next morning. "So, are you about to just leave this door unlocked and open for everyone else to walk in?" The first officer says to the second officer, raising an eyebrow, "That's right. Would you go around to the main entrance and call their facility management?" Officer 2 walks away, and sure, about a minute later, my work phone starts ringing. "Take your phone slowly and turn it off." By then, Officer 2 has returned, cell phone on his ear, trying to reach anyone, as I take mine and end the call. They hung up again. Some seconds later, my cell starts ringing again. "May I?" Officer 1, totally oblivious, just gives me an annoyed nod. He is clearly too occupied by his colleague trying to get someone on the line so he finally could leave and doesn't put one and one together. So I accept the call. "Good evening, officer. Might I finally lock the dang door as I was about to do before you interrupted me?" They were rather friendly after that, and even asked me if I'd like a ride home, since the whole thing delayed me past the last metro train. In the end, they were quite nice guys, and as annoyed as I was, they themselves were just about to turn in when they spotted me. We had a good laugh afterwards. So there we go, guys, just a little casual misunderstanding, nothing too malicious going on here. To be fair, what you said at the end there was right. You were clocking off, they were also about to clock off. It didn't really suit anyone what they did there, but you know, they were just doing their jobs and making sure you weren't just robbing an entire store or whatever it is you're closing. To be fair though, you could have made it a lot easier and got the situation done much quicker and probably got on your metro train if you just said to them, "Yeah, I actually work here, I'm the, security guard, I've got my key, let me just show you, I'll pull it out nice and slow," and they probably would have said, "Yeah, absolutely makes sense." But you didn't, so it's kind of on you. Now for our second story. I am a legit crisis worker and I need to use your phone. It's not exactly that I do work here, but that I do legit have business doing this work here. This is long ago and far away in the late 1970s when beepers were a thing but cell phones were not, and long before police needed defunding. I was a bit of an F up in high school. Not nearly as much as the school thought I was, but well, I was. But I graduated, and I went to college, and I consolidated my theses to a large degree. I came back home and got a job doing counselling and crisis management for a county-wide youth agency. Consolidated my theses, what an interesting way of saying I got my poop together. This agency was, among other things, the go-to agency when a police department got contact with a juvenile for something other than a real crime committed by the kid. Runaways, throwaways, family uproar, some limited drug crisis intervention, and so on. The cops get called, don't want to deal with that stuff, and they call us. And after hours or weekends, they'd call the answering service, and they would beep us and we'd call back. So, I'm the on-call guy one evening, and my little sister was in a play at the high school from which I'd graduated with dishonours 5 years earlier. My girlfriend and I went to see my sister's play, and during the show, my beeper went off. I got up and went to find a phone and went into the guidance office. Makes sense, right? To see if they could help me. I showed the person in the office my beeper and my agency ID, and so let me use the desk phone. Peachy. I call the answering service to get the word, but just as I connect, the main office door opened and the vice principal, who always loved me so much, walked in. He looked at me and I looked at him, and he demanded I tell him what the heck I thought I was doing. He would not allow me to explain my job and my role, he would not look at my agency ID, and basically, emphatically, he ordered me to get the heck out of his dang guidance office. So I had to leave the school, leave the play, leave my girlfriend at the play, and go 2 or 3 miles down the road to my town's police department. They graciously let me in the back to use the phone to call the service, then call the other town's police departments and deal with the situation. I don't even remember what the situation was, but it just needed a couple of phone calls to resolve. I didn't have to go to the other police station or anything like that. I actually got back to the play during intermission. Frickin' school. No wonder everybody hated it. Oh, OP, that absolutely sucks, to be honest. It's kind of a shame that you gave yourself quite a bad reputation when you were at school, because unfortunately those things kind of never leave you. Your reputation is kind of your character when you leave a place, and that's what you're going to be remembered by. So yeah, it makes sense, I guess, why this principal or vice principal was a little bit, he was like, get out of there. A little bit hasty to not even question what you were doing. But maybe I'd be the same. If you see one of your old students who was very troublesome back when they attended this school, yeah, you're probably not going to be letting them in the office all too easily, that is for sure. To be honest though, I am a little bit like this guy. The older I got and the further along I went in school, the more I got annoyed at, teachers and staff being a little bit too up themselves, let's just say that. And I kind of understand where this guy's coming from. You're just doing something in an office. It's not the biggest of deal. There's no need to be asked to leave immediately by the vice principal. But yeah, it's his school, I guess, and he can kind of do what he wants. Now for our third story, not who you expected to see at the front of the class. I'm one of those people who can't sit still, and I have a couple of jobs. I started off in the emergency services, but drifted into IT. Once in IT, I did a part-time degree in computing and then got a second job teaching part-time at the university where I got my bachelor's. I went on to get a master's in education alongside my teaching. I now work part-time for my IT employer and work teaching a few online and face-to-face courses at the university. The university also offer short courses in some technology topics which I also teach, as I have instructor certifications from the various vendors. This sort of sets the scene. Last year, the company I work for was taken over, and we had a new management team arrive. Most of the team are okay and will ask about things they're unsure of, apart from one person who has a really inflated opinion of himself. We haven't really had much to do with each other, but he has seen me in meetings and I've had some negative feedback on the project work I've done, which can be classed as someone flexing their muscles. I suppose this works, but I would have done X, Y, or Z instead. I discovered he was not really interested in those lower down the food chain, so he didn't do a great deal of due diligence on who he was working with. A month or so back, we were on a conference call and I don't have my video turned on for Teams meetings, just an avatar. In the middle of the meeting, it was announced that there would be training on some of the new hardware we were deploying, and that the sessions would be run by the university I teach at. I already knew all about this and had prepared a little overview of what would be taught. Before I got the chance to comment though, our manager chipped in. I can't see the point of this. What can they teach us at a university? We have tech guys here doing the work. Those who can, do. Those who can't, teach. Not the wisest comments. Roll forward a couple of weeks, and I'm standing at the front of my classroom at the university with the faculty dean. My PowerPoint slides are ready to go, and the class starts arriving. In walks the manager, and he immediately recognizes me and starts to walk over, asking why I was there as I wasn't booked on this course. The dean asks him to take a seat as the class will begin shortly. The manager looks a little puzzled, but takes a seat. One or two others from the day job walk in, and there are a few amused looks passed between them. They have figured out something the manager hasn't. The clock hits the top of the hour, and the course officially starts. The dean turns to the class and starts his introduction. Hello and welcome to the course. I'm the faculty dean, and I would like to say hi and introduce you to OP, who is your tutor for this course. The look on the face of the manager made my day. I'm taking great pleasure in pointing out all the places he has gone wrong in his assignments. Usually along the lines of, yes, this approach would work, but it is much more efficient to do X, Y, or Z, especially as that is the accepted best practice for this technology. Oh, you know what guys, there is nothing better than someone getting a taste of their own medicine, especially in this story. This guy came in, he was so blasé, he was like, yeah, you know what, I know what I'm doing. No one can teach you otherwise. If you're lower than me in the food chain, I don't care. I'm only responding and listening to people who are above me, so I can eventually get their jobs. That's the overall long-term plan. But no, he was wrong. Listen to people that are on your level or below you, because you never know where they might end up. Now moving on to our final story, the ranger said... I've got tons of stories of working for state parks, and this is a classic. So, we are week 3 into a fire ban. There's a massive forest fire going on across the states. You'd assume that tourists stay away, but of course not. Tourists have the reading comprehension of someone who drinks Break Clean for that tingly taste. So, I work with 2 rangers. One is from a foreign country, the other is native. So when someone BS's me about what the ranger said, I know it's not going to be true. I enter the campground. Both bosses are out, but they have me on fire patrol, and immediately fresh smoke fills my nose. I come upon this site. RV, half parked, older lady, 2 yap dogs, and husband who nurses beers. Hello campers, I'm here to inform you that we have a fire ban in place. Please put your fire out. The lady puts her dog down. What? No, the ranger said it was fine. I look at her confused because both rangers are not only not okay with fires, but the native one's freaking res lands on fire and he was adamant, no fires. Here's the other thing. The fire ban is based off of what the county fire marshals say, and they say no flamey boys. So, which ranger was it? I asked. I tend to try and confirm these things to be safe. He was a tall white man. There's no ranger that works here who looks like that. Also, fire ban is by county fire marshal's discretion, not ours, and the fire ban is statewide. Please, put out the fire. She gets mad. Well, the ranger on the coast said. Miss, this isn't the coast. Please put the fire out. Furthermore, they're on a fire ban as well. I'm trying to save you a ticket. But she tells me to buzz off, you're just a toilet scrubber. Okay, game on, biatch. I talked to the ranger who was in charge of our park, and he was on a day off. He was not happy about what was going on with this camper. So he got his uniform on, walked up and said, "Hi, my employee asked you to put this fire out." The camper looked at him. "No one came by." He said, "Well, if you're lying, there is a $5,000 fine and 5 years jail time. On top of that, I will have to summon DNR to put this out, which is an additional $5,000 fine." She went flush, realizing I was saving her $10,000 and jail time. Come to think of it, an employee kinda came by and said something. We will put it out right now. My boss got back in his truck, went back to the station to drop everything off, told me what happened, and did the attaboy bits and went back to his day off. The next day, we got a nastygram from her, where she wrote this very long, angry letter of how I'm lazy, stupid, fat, filthy, overpaid, and even insisted that the parks stop hiring mentally disabled people. Now, I do have autism, but you really wouldn't know unless you've been around me. But that kinda hurts. She got banned from all the parks after this. Basically, ranger runs your plates and you get a fine for trespassing. Oh, why has this woman got to be horrible at the end there? Look, you've made a mistake. Just own up to it. The boss has come over and told you, look, you're going to have to pay a big old fine unless you leave. Just leave. Stop the fire. Not even leave. Just stop the fire. Carry on with your day without a fire. Do you really need a fire to enjoy your day? I don't think so. The fire is not the be-all and end-all of a great day, is it? But no, you had to go and ruin it by saying mentally disabled people shouldn't even be allowed a job. Like, why say that? If anything, we should be encouraging people that have mental disabilities and getting them jobs that they deserve to have. Not, alienating them for the sake of this woman being an idiot. I just don't know. It's just a shame, because it could have been such an easy conversation that took place. Oh, there's no fires here, by the way. There's actually a fire, a massive forest fire over there. We don't want to get caught up in that. Oh yeah, sure, I'll put it out right now. Sorry about that, officer or ranger. Don't just lie for no reason. Why? Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this episode of I Do Work Here Lady. I really hope you have enjoyed it. A bit more of a chilled one today. If you want more from this subreddit immediately, I do actually have a playlist of all my r/I Do Work Here Lady videos right on screen, right there. And also, if you are new around here, click this button. Do it now and it'll make me happy. All right, peace. See you tomorrow.